Mike Wilner, who does a fantastic job covering the Blue Jays and baseball for the Toronto Star, and also the star of the Deep Left Field podcast, which we'll tell you more about. And we have a little pretty wallpaper to show about it coming up in just a sec. Mike, great to have you on. Wow. I will say, before it was like kind of official that we found out that Ohtani is in Florida, we already lined up to speak to you. So impeccable timing to have you on this show for the first time. How are you, and how has the past 24 hours been for you?
I'm good. I'm at the home office and not in Nashville, so I'm not around all that constant buzz and searching for Ross Atkins and all that stuff. Oh, he's there now. But it's it's been really interesting. There've been a lot of people who've wanted to talk to me lately, and it's kind of cool to have the Blue Jays playing in the deep end. A lot of people seem to believe that they're not real major players in free agency, but they've signed some of the most sought after free agents in each of the last 3 off seasons or 4. So they're really positioned well. They've got the money and they've improved their facilities to such a huge extent that they are right in the thick of things, I think, in the Ohtani sweepstakes.
Wait, Mike, where are you? Are you at the winter meeting? Is this a ruse? Have you built this room to secretly shroud your whereabouts so that Shohei does not know you're talking about him?
Well, he fortunately, I'm not affiliated with the team, so me talking about him, I don't think ruins anything.
Yeah. So we're good. So we're good with it. Even though you have all those bobbleheads, Shohei might not want to go to the Blue Jays. What does this, all the things you mentioned, the facility, meeting with those things, what do the Blue Jays, what's their number one selling point to Shohei Ohtani coming to the Six?
That's a good question. I don't know what I would put at the top of the list. I mean, first of all, you've got, you remember what the player development complex, such as it was in Dunedin, used to be. Yep. But now it's the best in the sport. And they've redone the whole thing, and people, new Blue Jays rave about it. It's one of the first things they talk about. They're also redoing the facilities at Rogers Center for the players. It's going to be the biggest clubhouse in the major leagues. They've redone the weight room. They're redoing all the behind the scenes things that make players better and that make players comfortable. And I think those things are going to be a huge selling point for a guy who, in Japan, Shohei Ohtani, before he came to the major leagues, had the reputation as someone who goes to work out, then goes home to read about how he could work out better, and then wakes up, plays, and goes to work out. So, the Blue Jays have done everything possible to make Toronto as attractive a destination, maybe even the most attractive destination for that sort of thing in the major leagues. The other thing is you get to play for a whole country. Toronto Blue Jays fans exist coast to coast to coast in Canada. You've got 36 million potential viewers watching every game. Every game is televised nationally, and you play for a whole country, and that's a big deal, I think, to a lot of people. And the team, they've been in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. The other time they missed the playoffs by 1 game and might have been the scariest team in the major leagues at that point when they missed the playoffs. They've got the best pitching in the major leagues, best pitching and defense last year. And he would add a dimension to the offense that you would think would get them over the top. There are a lot of really good selling points for him.
Okay, Mike. So now that we've established the Blue Jays are out because you guys have talked about them, so now let's get into why they should be in. You mentioned all the facility upgrades. You mentioned all this, but has Drake come on yet? Has Drake made his case yet to Shohei? Because I feel like if Drake picks up the phone and says, "Yo, Shohei, this is Drake. Come to the Six," probably could get him there. So, Mike, I don't know if you know Drake or not, but you should call him. Shoot him a tweet or whatever. Get him to call Shohei. Then it's done deal, because no one says no to Drake, right?
There is a picture floating around on social medias of Drake wearing a Shohei Ohtani All-Star Game jersey. It's from the summer, but that might be the best we can do. But the Blue Jays were playing the Angels in Toronto on the day of the Raptors victory parade 5 years ago or whenever it was. So, maybe Ohtani ran into Drake then. Maybe they exchanged digits, and Drake is trying the recruitment process as well.
Okay, I've seen the facility where they work out. I was there at the original facility. They built that when I got drafted, and then it lasted my whole career. I mentioned it earlier in the show. It's an $80 million facility. Shohei could build his own, okay? Is Shohei going to be comfortable in Toronto? Is there enough of an opportunity for him to not be seen? Because we don't even know the name of his dog. So if he comes to Toronto, is he going to blend in a city that is very, a lot of people blend in. It's a lot of population. It's on top of each other. Can he blend in and do what he wants to do, which you had said is play baseball?
I mean, if he wants to, he can live at the ballpark and just go through the back corridors in and out and never leave the footprint the whole time that he's in Toronto. I would hope you would want to go out and explore a little bit wherever he is, whatever city he winds up in. He's going to be recognized. He's going to be mobbed. There's no way for that guy to really blend in. But, up here, it's a very diverse city. There's a lot of different people from a lot of different cultures and a lot of different backgrounds. And there's a little Japan and a little Korea and a little everything. And if he really wants to be immersed in that sort of thing, he can be here. And if he wants to hide, there are places to hide. Lots of Blue Jays, but several Blue Jays have lived at the ballpark in the hotel that's attached to the ballpark. And if you want, you never have to go outside on a homestand.
All right, Mike. So you mentioned the new facilities, but Toronto, from everyone I know that's ever played for Toronto, and I believe Kratz can back me on this, they do more things for their players that people don't hear about, helping them housing-wise, phone-wise, customs-wise with their family, doing little tiny things to help players out. And from what I've heard, I obviously didn't play for the Blue Jays, but every guy I know that went and played there, I mean, maybe one or two was like, but every team has those guys, right? But almost every guy that has played for Toronto has loved it. Do they call in current players, former players, and say, Shohei, listen, this is what we'll do for you. This is how we can help you. Again, you have Rogers, the national company of phone and TV and everything basically in Canada. It seems like obviously they have the money, but they have the best recruiting pitch other than the weather maybe, and you got to cross the border, right? So it seems like everything would work because Toronto to Japan, I'm sure there's a direct flight from Toronto to Tokyo or whatever. So, I mean, it seems like a great fit. So, man, I know Canada would love this.
Yeah, and you know what? It does really seem like a great fit, and I know that saying that sitting here in Toronto, trying to sell the city that I've lived in my whole life, it's there's a little bit of a bias too. But everything you said is right, and there are people who are reluctant to come to Toronto. There are people who don't know where it is, who are afraid of Canada and the weather and all that stuff. But the weather here is really not that much different from the weather in any of the northeastern cities in the U.S. or the a Chicago or a Pittsburgh or a Cleveland or Detroit or anything like that. It's probably better than San Francisco in the summer. But every player that I've ever spoken to, once they've gotten here, has said how much they love it and how wonderful the city is, how, like you said, much the team takes care of the players and goes out of their way. The family playroom that they built as part of this new renovation is unbelievable. It really does seem like I've never been embedded with other teams, so I don't know what those organizations are like. And Eric would be able to speak to it, having played for the Jays and played for other teams. But it really does seem like it comes across how well they take care of the players, how well they take care of the families, how much they help. It's a wonderful selling point, all that stuff.
All right, Mike. So real quick before we go, do they have the ability to, if this does happen with Shohei, you need a 6-man rotation. So you need 5 other starters when he does pitch, presuming he'll come back after this mystery elbow surgery that he had and pitch. Will they be able to do that? And then will they be able to accommodate Guerrero, Bichette, all these other guys they have? Because when Shohei's in the lineup, you can't put, Vlad has a sore knee, we'll DH him, not put him on the turf. Will they be able to fit him in? Because he kind of takes up a lot of space on your team.
And paying all of those guys and keeping Vladdy and Bo for Shohei. Didn't you say they have a separate budget if they get him?
Yeah, I think they've been led to believe that there's a unicorn budget, so that if they get Ohtani, that they can still continue to do what they were going to do with the addition of him. Yeah, it's tough to have a DH only because you're right, you can't give those guys rest. They had Brandon Belt this past season who could at least play a little first base if Vlad needed a day off the field or a day off his feet. You're never going to want to do that. With Ohtani, like if Ohtani, you would assume would be playing over everybody else, but I think you can make him fit. And the pitching is still a year away. Does he come back and start? Does he come back and close? Because you're worried about the elbow breaking again. Who knows? But the Blue Jays certainly, like any team, would be happy to make those accommodations for a guy who's the best player in the game and would be one of their best starting pitchers. And just one of the other things that AJ mentioned, the Jays have Yusei Kikuchi, who apparently was a hero of Ohtani's when Ohtani was growing up and playing through the ranks of Japanese baseball. So maybe they use Kikuchi to recruit him a little bit as well. I think if they were to get him, they would be more than happy to make room for him and to do the things that they need to do as far as the lineup is concerned to make it fit.
Hey, Mike, this was awesome. Appreciate having you on here for the first time. Just want to plug what you've got going on in your world too, in addition to the writing, the Deep Left Field podcast hosted by Mike. And it's a podcast from the Toronto Star, which obviously he is the columnist for on the baseball side, coverage, opinion, analysis. And I'm pretty sure I know what they're talking about lately on this pod. So go check it out. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Great to talk to you, and good luck in your coverage here of trying to get some more info out of the Blue Jays right now.
That's going to be tough to find things out, but we'll do our best. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it a lot, guys.